This is the awful truth. There's always someone in the family that's pushing it.
This lady does not deserve to be taken advantage of, especially at your age with your own grandchild.
Yeah.
My grandma is having to sue them. I'm testifying against them. Nobody's talking. They're one floor below right now. I get afraid to go on the elevator. It's sad that it had to devolve to this.
It's like a soap opera to me.
It's a very sad thing.
It's a family feud.
A family feud.
Here's a family that, on paper, you would think has the wealth that so many people seek, yet at the end of the day, it seemed to sort of rip everybody apart. My name's Tom Schoenberg. I'm a senior reporter here at Bloomberg News, cover financial enforcement. I was approached by someone close to the Schottenstein family and asked whether or not I would be interested in writing about Beverley Schottenstein and this case that she had against JPMorgan. And it was immediately clear that there was a great story here to be told. So I started just, assembling all sorts of documents that the family made available to me. That included a diary that Beverley had begun writing when she started having suspicions about what was actually going on with her money. Beverley obtained her wealth from the Schottenstein kind of retail empire that has at times included Big Lots, Value City, American Eagle Outfitters, DSW Shoes. Beverley's husband died, and at which point they sold off their portion of the company, bringing them an enormous amount of wealth at around 1990. Estimates of her wealth were around $90 million. She, for many years, had that pool of money being managed by outside advisors. Her grandsons in the late 2000s had both graduated and were becoming financial advisors. She gave them a little bit to work with, and over time, her grandson, Evan, became the trustee of her entire estate. Managing sort of family money is not a conflict. In fact, some ways in wealth management, it's kind of how you get your start. It's kind of the seed that you need to sort of get going in the business. But Beverley started having suspicions that something was wrong probably in around 2016.
Well, there were suspicious things, but taken separately without everyone talking about their own experiences, it was hard to really put it together.
She had written a check to her caretaker, Dawn, that bounced. So she went down to her local Chase branch to sort of find out what was going on. She wasn't getting paper statements in the mail, so she asked them to print out a number of her statements having to do with her checking account and her credit card account.
So we went to the bank and asked for the statements. And she got a whole year and going through all of them, page by page by page.
And it was there she saw all sorts of charges that she said she didn't authorize or didn't know about.
I was becoming very, very suspicious. I was starting to look in the money part, and that's what bothered me more when I saw that money was going, and I was not a big spender.
Around the same time, Dawn, she starts noticing Beverly's son, who lived in the condominium below her, came up with Evan with a shredder and started grabbing papers in her office area, including some with JPMorgan letterhead, and just started sitting at the kitchen table, just shredding documents over and over.
Yeah, they came in one morning.
They used to do it in the back.
Through the back door, and they brought the shredder inside. And then they went in the drawers in the office and took out all the papers, and they started doing it. I was very suspicious because I know you don't go around and destroying papers.
Beverly said that they had done this many times before.
That's when she said to me, Dawn, I'm going to write my feelings in this black book.
Diary.
And it's a diary, and she started writing. Each day she would write a little at a time.
Around the holidays of 2018, a package had arrived, a FedEx package, and in it were materials about a venture capital fund based out of the Cayman Islands. Dawn and some other family members take a look at this, and they see that Beverley is signed up for this fund to the tune of $5 million over the course of several years.
And that was really the beginning of it. That was sort of the tip of the iceberg when it became obvious that something was going on, that my grandmother really wasn't aware of this fund.
You know, Beverley started to panic. She got really upset and called, JPMorgan's headquarters in New York and asked for Jamie Dimon. She said she was told someone would call her back, but she says that never happened. She wrote a letter to Evan and Avi, and in there she laid out a number of things that were concerning her: unauthorized trading, the checking account. She had about $1 million worth of jewelry in a safe deposit box, and that her son Bobby had the key to that box, and that jewelry had gone missing. All this was kind of packaged in this, 5-page handwritten amendment to a will and trust.
There's such an evolving narrative about why the jewelry was taken. The only truth we really know is that the jewelry is gone. But why it happened, there have been a lot of different stories.
You just don't take your mother's wonderful things and hand it out.
And they emailed that note to JPMorgan to seize all activity on her account.
And it ended up setting off a firestorm after that. As soon as they got this email that there was a cease and desist and that she wanted to send her money and change brokerage firms, they were actually vacationing one floor below downstairs. They're there right now.
The next day, Beverly's in her place. The granddaughter's still in her place visiting. Dawn is there, and up comes Bobby kind of barging through the door. And he's screaming about what was sent to the JPMorgan. They're now investigating now. And he's furious, takes his mother and sort of puts her into a chair, gets pen and paper, and she says physically forced her to write a retraction letter.
They were pushing me around.
It was a scary time. I was really afraid too.
I had to take her to the doctor, and she did an x-ray because she was in so much pain.
The locks had to be changed. The phone number had to be changed. I really thought we were going to have to hire guards to be outside just for protection.
Oh, it was terrible.
Horrible scene.
Beverley brought her case before the Financial Industry Regulatory Authorities, usually known as FINRA. It took several months of hearings. She sees all sorts of transactions that's going on, hundreds of them that she claims that she never knew about, never authorized, but yet were logged in JPMorgan's files as having been direct requests from her. That included the sale of a large amount of Apple stock worth several $1 million, as well as all her stock in Big Lots. Over the course of their time with JPMorgan, Evan and Avi were making all sorts of trading on her account that was generating millions of dollars in commissions for themselves and the bank, yet she was not sort of getting any of the type of gains that you would expect sort of an $80 million account in a bullish market to be able to get. They issued a ruling entirely in her favor, finding that her grandsons, as well as JPMorgan, they were liable for violating their fiduciary duty, misrepresenting themselves, and they also found that the bank and her grandson, Evan, were liable for elder abuse. Evan and Avi, they were fired from JPMorgan. They issued an award of about $19 million. I reached out for comment, and JPMorgan emphasized that Evan and Avi were no longer with the firm and that their actions do not represent the sort of values of the bank. I reached out to Evan and Avi, heard back from their lawyer saying that, they disagree with the law and the facts that FINRA kind of used to decide the case against them and are seeing if they can have it withdrawn. Her son Bobby wrote her a letter, said his sons weren't criminals, and he also admits to taking her jewelry. And he says he needed it to pay off some bad business debts he had.
They never once came up to say, I'm sorry.
If there had been an apology and some acceptance, and asking for forgiveness from my grandmother, I don't think we'd be in the position that we are now.
Since the piece came out, we've received dozens of messages from people, many of whom are telling their own sort of personal tales of, kind of financial advisors gone bad, or family members who got control of an estate and abused, those within. It seems that it's really resonated with a lot of people. I keep, hearing a lot of feedback about Beverley and how, a lot of people feel she did the right thing.
You're never too old to stand up for yourself and try to right an injustice. She was adamant that she wanted to stand up for herself, but at the end of the day, they did wrong.
It's a painful life lesson. Beverley taught them that you don't mess with grandma.